Let f of x equal 2x cubed minus 3x squared plus 8x minus 12 equals 0. Part A, list all the possible rational zeros of x. So for part A, rational zeros come from the fraction c over d, where c comes from all of the zeros of the last term, and d comes from all of the factors of the first term. So for our c's, all the possible factors of 12 include positive or negative 1, positive or negative 2, positive or negative 3, positive or negative 4, positive or negative 6, and positive or negative 12. And for D, the 2, the only factors of 2 are positive or negative 1 and 2. So for our possible rational zeros, we'll take C over D. So they have to be rational, meaning they have to be a fraction. So if we take 1 over 1, that's not a fraction. 1/2, that is a fraction. So we'll have positive or negative 1/2. And then we'll also have positive or negative 3/2. Those are the two fractions that we can make from taking C divided by D. So that's part A. And then in part B, it says, given that f of x has a rational zero between 0 and 2, find all the zeros of f of x. So now we have to do a little bit of synthetic division. We'll start with the 1/2. We know it has to be positive since it's between 0 and 2. So we'll start with 1/2, and we'll divide that synthetically into 2, negative 3, 8, and negative 12, and that comes from these numbers here. We first bring down the first number, and we're going to multiply 1/2 and 2 together to get 1. We add these together, so we'll get negative 2. Multiply negative 2 times 1/2, we get negative 1. Add those to get 7, and then we get 7/2 here, which this doesn't come out to be 0, so we kind of forget about that one. Now we'll use the 3/2. We'll divide 3/2 into this. So we've still got 2, negative 3, 8, and negative 12. Drop down the 2. 3/2 times 2 is 3. So when we add those together, we get 0. 3/2 times 0 is 0. So now we've got an 8. 3/2 times 8 is 12. So now we get 0. And we're left with 2x squared plus 8 equals 0. From here, we want to find the zeros of this equation, so we'll get 2x squared equals negative 8, x squared equals negative 4. So x equals positive or negative square root of negative 4, which is positive or negative 2i. So the zeros then for this equation are the 3/2, since that divided in nicely, and then positive or negative 2i.